Hey, this is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. In this video, I will be discussing more on the Quantum Leap reboot. I have an article from Collider and an article from Dark Horizons. So let's get right into the article, and then I'll share my thoughts. So let's look at the Collider article first. They're both about the same thing, which is that Ernie Hudson joins the cast of the reboot. And based on what we're seeing here, Deadline, which is the source of the whole thing, I guess, is reporting that Ernie Hudson will play opposite Raymond Lee, who was playing the Sam Beckett role. He won't be called Sam Beckett, but meaning the Leaper role. And Ernie Hudson will play Herbert Magic Williams, who's a Vietnam vet that is heading up to time for a practical Quantum Leap. And that was the role that Al Film played in the original role. Al was a Vietnam veteran who was a general an admiral, Admiral Albert Calvici, who had the Quantum Leap project and was Sam's best friend, and so on and so forth. So clearly, we have our Al and Sam characters, right? Now, I've said before in my previous videos that I'm not very impressed. I'm not very hopeful for this reboot or whatever you want to call it, for the simple reason that, one, they don't seem to be as aware of the original show as they should be. Like when they said that the new Leaper will have amnesia. Well, Sam had amnesia in the original I want to say first season of the show. It could have been a little more, a little less, but he was constantly told that he had a Swiss cheese memory, and the reason they didn't try to correct it was because they thought the more his memory was ignorant of his own future, they might make it more possible for him to fulfill the original timeline and leap to his back to home. And the other reason I was less hopeful is that they didn't seem to understand the concept that Quantum Leap was a buddy show. That the two main characters, Al and Sam, had a great on-screen relationship as actors and as characters, and everything else happening in the show were at best supporting. So yet they have some sort of ensemble cast that they're hyping who seem to be like they're getting a lot more screen time, and that to me is going to detract from the show. Because when you have characters with significant screen time, you have to give them stories, and that will take away from what Al and Sam are doing in the leaps. That's the important part of this. Al and Sam's relationship and what they're doing in the leaps. Now, I'm not saying don't have a supporting cast. Maybe the supporting cast, if they keep it very narrow, keep it very tied down to just a long-running plot, I can kind of see that. That's not the impression that I'm getting from what they're doing. So let's talk Ernie Hudson in this role. Now, Ernie Hudson is an excellent actor, and I think he could do very well as the Al character in this role of, the older mentor, best friend, looking out for his little buddy type of character. So if they're going to go with that, they got a good actor for it, right? He's of the age physically and visibly to seem like he would be a general or from Vietnam era to head the project. He can play serious and he can play comedy, which he Quantum Leap was kind of almost a dramedy. It was serious with some comedic elements. The comedic elements were like when Sam would leap into a woman, or Sam would leap into a little kid, or Sam would leap in and he'd be in the middle of a parachute with his parachute, not working correctly. So there are comedy elements in there. It's kind of like a little less comedy than Ghostbusters if you want to get a scale. So I'm okay with Ernie Hudson being cast, and that to me is now a plus. So the negatives were the ensemble cast being given more weight than they should, and the showrunners not seeming to understand the nature of the show being a buddy film, and also not seeming to be aware of the plots of the original. Now, Ernie Hudson's a positive, and in one of these articles they mentioned that the original series Don Belisario will be involved in the production. So he'll be an executive producer, which is good. So he understood the original, so he might hold them to task and say, oh, look, we had a very well, much of the two main characters, because he understood the nature of the show. And it looks like they may be getting the original Deborah Pratt to play Ziggy again. That's possible. I'm not sure what the wording is here. But anyway, so we got some positives from this. So now, one thing I thought about, if they really, one thing that they could do that's nifty, they should call it Quantum Leap 2.0. That would kind of tie it in with the original, because it's really not a reboot. It's really more of a follow-up series, a sequel series. So it would be neat to do it that way. And Quantum Leap, if you think about it, could almost go Doctor Who, where they have one leaper for a couple of seasons, and then Quantum Leap 3.0 will be another leaper. You know, they could really do that. They want to keep this concept going, and it's allowed them to change up the character dynamics and so forth. You know, so there is potential here. I'm trying to be hopeful, even though I'm not too hopeful in the modern era of bad writing and wokeism. So, but the people who did La Brea, I enjoyed La Brea. I thought it had some issues, but one of which is suffered from a little too many characters and their stories being given prominence. What they should have done was just have shorter stories for some of the supporting characters to take like one episode. But anyway, that's about La Brea. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Ernie Hudson joining the cast of the Quantum Leap reboot, as we're calling it. This is Matt from Unbearable 73. If interested in what I'm saying, maybe give me some comments. I can follow up on it. Give me a like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want more. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.